Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on one of my favorite cars in my collection. It's my 1/18 scale RC4WD drive Gelande 2. And if you guys have seen this vehicle or seen me talk about this vehicle, you guys will know it's a very flawed vehicle. I mostly really like it because of its really scale driving experience, but to work on it, its reliability, its ease of like battery install, even just taking the body on and off, everything's really frustrating on it, very annoying on it. It's also very expensive. So most people probably won't look twice at the Gelande 1/18 scale. But for me, with all the upgrades I've done to it, I like how it looks a lot. I also like how it drives. Obviously not for anything super technical, but just for that kind of scale driving experience, I really like it. I'm also a really big fan of the D90 as well, so a lot of reasons I still really do like it. But like I mentioned, reliability is very poor on this truck, and as usual, I actually was filming a video to compare it to the newly acquired and newly released Traxxas TRX4M, which I think for playability fixes a lot of issues that Gelande 2 has, and I'll do a video on comparing the two a bit later. But yeah, I was filming the video for that, and while I was comparing the two, I realized my Gelande 2 is actually broken. So if you see here, if I hold it in place, it's slipping. Even if I try to climb something like little as my finger, something's definitely clicking. It drives when it's on the flat surface, but any sort of obstacle, any sort of like significant obstacle, like even if I curve up my finger a little bit, you can see it struggles. So we're gonna see what's going on with that. So of course the first thing is we have to remove the body, and that is 2 different size screws per side, per like front and rear. So that's super dumb. Longer screws are for the back, shorter screws are for the front. But getting past that, taking the body off, you can see here the transmission and the motor on the Gelande 2 is infamously very small and very weak. In fact, when I first got this thing out of the box, it had this exact problem. So we're gonna kind of take it apart and see what's actually wrong with it. This is a very heavy truck, so I don't know why they ended up putting in such a tiny transmission into it. That's honestly kind of disappointing on RC4WD drive's part, but it is what it is. But yeah, let's start taking this thing apart and see what's actually wrong with it. So the first thing we'll do, of course, is unplug the battery and turn off the radio. And we'll just take the battery out for now, just because we don't really need that. And then we'll take off the transmission. It is a 1.5 millimeter screw, 4 of them. That's the other thing that's a little bit strange on the Gelande 2 is it actually doesn't have a center skid plate. You can see that lower links actually mount directly to the outside of the chassis, which is dumb, I think. And then the transmission itself actually mounts to the side plates. And that also means your center skid here, there's no center skid, it's not flat at all. So that's definitely going to get caught on stuff and be annoying. But I guess it is what it is. And then we have to take off this little rubber band here. And carefully drop out that pin. This is a very easy pin to lose. So we're going to set that aside. Same thing in the front. Let that pin drop out. That's the other thing that's also kind of annoying about working on this truck is the drive pins are very tiny. They're barely like a paper clip sized pin. So, I don't know. There's a lot of things on this truck I think that could have been much better. And I think if it had been a lot better, it would have been a bit more popular. But there's so much like little things that are kind of annoying about it that makes it not really worth the money for most people, which is unfortunate because there are still a lot of really nice things I think that this truck does. It's just kind of hard for a lot of people to look past. I'm not even gonna undo that. I'm just gonna work on it like this. So I believe these are all also 1.5 millimeter hex screws. And it's acting like there's a slipper clutch that's loose, but to my memory, I don't think this thing has a slipper clutch. So my guess is that one of the gears is just really badly stripped. And if that's the case, just for this inevitability, I do have a second transmission ready to go. So I'll just probably throw that one in and call it a day. And I tried to buy the transmission gears for this before, and it seemed like I could only ever find the entire transmission and motor assembly. So that kind of sucks that you have to buy basically a brand new motor and transmission anytime your gears go out. So part support is another thing that's really annoying on this truck. So taking that off. Yeah, so it doesn't really seem like there's a slipper clutch on here. Spare gear looks okay. So that's not the problem. And maybe something on this side. Also, you want to keep track of your screws because again, they're all different lengths, which is dumb. Taking that off. Let's taking a look at the gears over here. Again, it doesn't look like any of the gears are stripped. At least on the transmission side. Oh, it does look like there's a little slipper clutch there. So let's try tightening that thing up. I missed that. So I was mistaken. Taking a closer look, there is actually a slipper clutch on this transmission. You can see there. And for some reason there seems to be like grease and stuff on it. So I think we could just like tighten this back down and it should be okay. But this has been an ongoing issue with this thing. So what I'm kind of tempted to do is just straight up glue it in place. Let's see if we can actually get it to clamp down hard enough. I think what could be happening also is the little center plate here that the nut actually holds onto spins separately from the spur gear. So that could be what's causing the issue. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. So I'm going to take this off. You can see when I try to take the nut off, you can see that center plate spins separately from the gear. So I'm fairly certain that's where the slip is coming from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue that piece in and then put the nut on. So that way that thing won't spin separately. And hopefully the slipper clutch can actually do its job. Because the clutch didn't really seem like it was too worn. But this piece is definitely seeing some wear. Yeah, you can kind of see the grooves or where it was spinning. So I'm going to try that and see if that fixes it. So I have my little super glue here, and we're going to dab some glue on here. That's a lot of glue. The tip of the glue bottle is kind of knackered. So I think that's way too much glue. But whatever. So we'll just throw that on. And then throw the nut on. So it already does seem like it's working. That piece is no longer spinning separately from the spur gear. It's a little bit tight. So loosen it up with hair. So we're gonna give that a try. Put it on. And now we'll throw the motor back on, but unfortunately, of course, with my luck, the motor wire broke off. So we will have to resolder that. So while our soldering iron is heating up, let's strip back these wires. A little bit awkward to do with the camera on my face. So we got the motor soldered back on. And let's put the motor back in. And where's it? we're gonna plug the battery back in and just make sure it spins. So now finally, let's throw the transmission back into the truck. Over, screws. You have only put 2 screws on the transmission to break the pressure because it's going to be the pressure won't be going. And now it's the fun of putting this stupid pin back in. There we go. Also making sure it's followed on the side. Rubber band over it. Oh, missed it. So we got one. So finally, you can put the last 2 screws for the transmission in place. Oh. There we go. Now let's throw the battery back in it and hope this thing is actually fixed now. In. That's much better. Let's do like this thing. So that seemed to have fixed the issue. It still has the ridiculous amount of slop, but I think that's just how this thing is. At least now I'll be able to climb stuff. So let's screw the body back on it and take it on a little test run. That seems fixed to me. So I'm really glad that was a pretty simple fix and I was able to do it without throwing any new parts at it, especially when getting a Burger King meal costs like $14. It's nice to be able to save a couple bucks here and there, especially on your little hobby. So that was really nice. Hopefully that fix holds. Worst case scenario, like I said, I do have a second transmission that I bought way long ago. So shouldn't be too much of an issue, but for now, I think it's ready to actually, hopefully, if it doesn't break again, actually be able to compete somewhat with the new Traxxas TRX4M. So kind of a different video, but I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, I hope everyone has a great day and have fun with RC.